Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. I was joking with Annie. This is her the first ever third appearance. This you have the record.
Yes.
And you are in the top 10 all the listens of both episodes because you're Annie and you're amazing. But her and I only get to talk. She needs to stop having babies, but we only get to talk like once a year, and we're like, we'll just do it on camera so everybody can hear about us catching up with each other. So for anybody, this is my favorite question to you because it changes month to month. For anybody that doesn't know who you are, the new listeners, how do you sum up yourself in a few words? What do you do these days, young lady?
I don't do anything in a few words. It's funny. I was thinking this morning, I forget everything that we've talked about on past podcasts. Yet there's part of me that I know that I'm the same person that I was on the very first podcast, but I am a completely different person on each podcast. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a small business owner. I'm a really genuinely happy person that's doing a bunch of different little things that just fill my cup, and I am releasing myself from the idea of who I thought I needed to be at this age, or the idea of what I thought I needed to do at this age. And I'm enjoying the ebb and flow of life right now. I'm also a mindset coach. I am I don't know. I'm everything and all in one.
People think you could say what you want about podcasts or the reason why you do it or whatever, it doesn't really matter. But the thing that I love the most about this is because the first time we talked, you actually breastfed on the podcast, which has never happened ever again. So that was the first baby. Now we're on to baby 2. And it's really like a documentation of like, you can go back and listen to yourself and kind of, that's why I love these check-ins. And
I was actually thinking about that because now, as a more quote unquote seasoned mom with my second baby, I breastfed before the call and then was literally patting her butt to get her down to sleep before this so that I could enjoy the entire time. Like, this is fulfillment for me. Like, I love coming on here and chatting with you, but I also know how to schedule things a little bit better. There's something about a second time around in many areas of life that this just feels there's so many things. I feel like I'm like exploding right now. The
moment that changed my life was my ex sister-in-law on baby 1. It was, Austin, don't touch the baby. Don't even get near the baby. And then by baby 3, we're at the kitchen table and she goes, I don't hear him crying. Hand me another margarita.
That feels very accurate. Yeah, it feels very accurate.
Truth, right? But here's the analogy that I want to propose to you that I had the other morning when we were driving to get coffee. So ever since I got divorced, I've had this obsession with sunsets and sunrises. Mainly sun rises because I'm in bed by 8 o'clock. So mainly sunrises. But I'm obsessed with understanding what makes a good sunrise, how you get the best picture. In Estes Park, there was great ones. In Florida, Arizona has the best ones. Texas has amazing ones. But here's the metaphor for life. Here's the difference between a great sunrise and a good sunrise. You actually need to see the sunrise 30 minutes before it rises. That's the best sunrise. And you also need clouds to give you context to get a juxtaposition of to get the best sunrise. If it's clear sky, you actually don't get a great sunrise. What a metaphor for life.
I like where this is going. This is, it's so funny. So in this season of motherhood, I have put so much emphasis, ironically, on the sunrise because I am now able to recognize that there's going to be hard shit with having a newborn. I mean, period, like full stop there. It is hard having a newborn. However, knowing that the sun is going to rise in the morning, I say this is taught all the time. It's like the nights are sometimes really hard, especially in those first couple of weeks of having a newborn. We're in a really good rhythm now where I can appreciate a sunrise because it's my time, not just because it's a new day. But there's something, I feel like I have been so hooked on sunrises these, I don't know, last 6 months, because it's this idea of also this fresh start and it's a new day. And there's something so cleansing to me about a sunrise, because it's like, it doesn't, if you decide, the sunrise can wash away everything bad that happened in the nighttime. If you decide.
Exactly. Well, this guy, we're in negotiations for a company that we wound up going into LOI with, because he's not on this planet. He's in some other universe with his price. But he said something in the meeting that changed my life forever. He said, look, you don't need to buy me and I don't need to buy you. But if we figure out a way to work together, then that could be beneficial for both. And I was like, what an amazing outlook on life. This guy's been around the block for like 30 plus years in the business. He gets it. But what an outlook on life. Like in that moment, I go, oh, so everything truly is a choice.
Yeah.
But we go into it going, oh, if I get this thing, my entire life's going to change.
I
and it
feel
means
that
absolutely nothing.
Deeply. I feel that deeply. I felt that shift in business with me too, where there was this, like, I've spent years of both like a mix of unhealthy and healthy hustle, like, and a healthy grind. I think that the world, I'm going to say this and probably put my foot in my mouth at the same time. I love what's happening in social media with the idea of eliminating or like stepping away from the hustle. I love that. But in the same breath, I feel like it's doing everybody a disservice by not acknowledging that there is some sort of grind that is necessary in whatever you do in life. Motherhood, there is a grind and a hustle, like on a daily basis, to keep your child alive so that you wake up in the mornings. Like the thing about babies is, like, they give their best smiles in the morning with the sunrise. Like, they're the most happy and joyful for the most part. I don't know, asterisks on that, but like there's something about the idea that it's not necessarily about this grinding of your own gears, but yes, this give and take about what can you truly give to somebody else in order to receive whatever it is that you need. We're in this, we went through this really crazy grind hustle phase inside of our four walls to get ourselves out of just a buttload of debt. And it was like this idea that we're like, okay, let's face reality. Let's get out of it. And now we're on the other side of that mountain, and life feels so different right now. Life feels so different. I have goosebumps thinking about this because we get to now make those kinds of choices. What is like right now, I work with this company, I partner with this company called Beauty Counter, skincare and makeup line. It's been so much fun for me. And it's so out of the realm of what I thought I'd be doing, because I am like the tomboy that washed her face with a bar of soap. And now I'm partnering with this company that's like advocating for change in the beauty industry. And that none of that mattered to me. But the part that I've realized that I genuinely love, I get to help other moms make money for themselves and for their families. And this is an incredibly lucrative business. And so for me, Todd and I got to have this sit down conversation as I was coming out of a maternity leave that I didn't take with my son because I thought I needed to grind. And if I'm going to work from home and he's just a little baby, I can do it anyways. I can work on my phone while he's nursing, blah, 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 all of these things. And I now realize how much of the beautiful stillness of life that I wouldn't say I missed out on it, because I appreciate that I went through that with him. But now I was able to give myself an almost full 6-month maternity leave, which has been freaking bliss. I mean, truly, I am a different person today at 6 months postpartum than I was with my son. Again, not in a bad way, in a like really fulfilled and joyful way. But the conversations that Todd and I have been able to have and sit down and have come from a place of like, do you really want to go back to doing stuff with Beauty Counter? Do you genuinely? No, and I do.
I know.
And I
such,
do.
Such
And
a
it
different
is
conversation.
It's not a have to, it's a get to. It comes from a deeper place in my belly of wanting to like help people and talk about this company and talk about. And so, okay, I started reading this book. This doesn't necessarily apply to you, but if any of my people are listening to this, it is called My Unicorn Space. It's by Eve Radsky, I think is her name. And the idea behind it is, what do you do with that free time to create play, to create space for yourself, to do something that doesn't necessarily make money, but just that brings you joy, and it makes you a better freaking person. It makes you a better mom, it makes you a better business owner, it makes you a better wife, husband, whatever it may be. And the idea is, society downplays, I get goosebumps talking about this again. Society like diminishes and downplays the idea of this outside of like 5 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you want to do? You want to dance? You want to play? You want to do puzzles? Whatever. I don't know. But when you can imagine what life would be like if you were on, and I would love to ask you this, actually, flip it on its head. If you were on a desert island and you knew that Cassie was okay and she was fulfilled and had enough money to survive and had enough, and you also on your desert island, even if it was temporary, like this is a dream, right? You had food, you had water, you had all of the like natural or the essentials of life. What would you do with your time?
Build a treehouse.
Amazing. So start doing that on the side. Yeah. Come build my family a treehouse. Oh my God, JP would love a treehouse.
Dude, so think about this. I see this all the time with my clients. So think of your life as a circle. I haven't read this book, but I'll give you my own interpretation of it. See your life as a circle, right? And here's the problem. I have two clients, a dad and a son. So I'm coaching the dad and I'm coaching the son. It's cool. I love it. Guy's never had any coaching. Alcoholic for 35 years. His life is, talk about.
This is cool. Okay.
What's your favorite thing to do? I asked him, session 1. Well, I'm obsessed with fishing and I have a boat. When's the last time you did it? 3.5 years ago. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, I love golfing. When's the last time you did that? 2 years ago. Look, we're only doing the things that make us money because that's where we're focused. But what you don't understand is if you do the things that you love, then you 100%. Show up in the places that you need to make money better.
So 100%. Here's the interesting thing though. Let me put one added layer on top of that for anybody that might be listening that could connect to this. Good for them for having an answer. Okay. Because so many moms, and Todd and I have had this conversation. You ask, what do you like to do for fun? Well, and people can't answer.
They forgot. And the thing is this is, and I'll tell you what's interesting. True story. I went up to Dallas to hang out with the dad. And we're like 4 weeks in, and he has curbed his drinking like by like half. I didn't ask him. I didn't say stop drinking. I didn't do any of those things. I never once told him how to live his life.
Proximity.
We go to dinner. He wants to take me to dinner, and he orders a glass of wine. And I had the longest day of my life because I drove the RV up there. I knew he wanted me to say something about the wine. And I didn't. He was testing me. And I said, you should probably order a second glass. That looked really good. And I did it on purpose, right? Whoever says that, right?
Right.
And guess what he did? The next 4 days, he didn't have a drink. He was testing to see if I was going to push his buttons for him to say, screw you, get out of my life. I don't want to listen to what you said. And that's why I am different than most when it comes to like curbing drinking, because I've been there. And you know what I told him that really got him? For anybody that's listening out there that has a family member or themselves that's dealing with drinking, I said, when you gave up and you're drinking subconsciously, and I apologize to anybody that's offends, when you're drinking vodka. And he goes, what are you saying? I go, because then you've given up that taste matters to you and you're just doing it because. Whoa. And he's like, yo. He was like, how did you know that's what I'm drinking? I go, because I lived the fucking same life.
Whoa, that's.
And I said, also, it's easy to hide. I said, but you know what you can't hide?
Oh my
A
God.
red face. And he goes, fuck you. And he hung up on me because I knew exactly what he was doing. And guess what? Every one of the things I predicted he was doing. And so we put a carrot out there of something that he wanted to do. Back to your story, that he wanted to do for 20 years. We put a carrot out there, and you know what he did? He stayed sober to go get the carrot. And it was the first time in his life he's gone 2 days without drinking because it was something that he cared about deeply, his unicorn.
And there's this difference between the intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. And because you were part of his intrinsic, you were part of the like internal pull rather than the societal pull. You didn't do what society wanted to do and to shame him and to, and that's.
But I want to share something with you I have not talked about on the podcast yet. And I only share it with you. So.
Only with me and everybody else is listening.
Well, it's due to come. It's due to come.
I love it. I'm ready.
So I've had an interesting year, especially the last 4 months it's been a roller coaster. I think I've probably lost committed capital / projects and equity, and I probably lost $1 million this year. Easy. Of people going back on their word, fucking me over. I mean, you name it, it's happened. And the thing that put it in perspective is for 20 years, in the last 15 years, I think I've spent a total of 8 hours total in 15 years with my father. And 2 weeks ago, me and Cassie spent 7 days at his home with my father and my stepmom. And it was amazing. And there was no stress. There was no anger. I'm a grown-up. He's a grown-up. And we played golf twice.
What? That's 8 hours right there.
I know. And Cassie, I was working the first 2 days, so Cassie got to spend time with him. And Cassie said, I really hope Cassie said, I never had a family before. Oh my God. And now I have one with you. And I mean, who gives a fuck? Like I told him, I got my ultimate win for like the rest of my life. Like I got my dad back. And you know what's crazy is through all these trials and tribulations, my dad's been in the business space for forever. And he came back around right when I needed him the most. And for anybody that doesn't know what I do in my career, of course, my father has been doing for 35 fucking years. He coaches small business owners. Of course, right? And so I'm so blessed to, and I'll be 100% clear. That first 7 days of hanging out, I'm still reserved in certain aspects because I'm still like, is this too good to be true? I mean, of course, who isn't, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm thinking to myself, like, what really matters at this point? Like seriously, right? Like what really matters? And so there's this new doctor I'm like obsessed with. Like he's got amazing interviews. He studies happiness. And he said the biggest issue,
what's his name?
Is that I'll send you afterwards. His videos like stop me in my tracks every time. He's amazing. He says that the thing that people have wrong is that happiness and unhappiness are two different parts of the brain. They think it's one. And he goes, the problem that he said they studied is money does not make you more happy, but it takes the unhappiness level down. That's what people don't get.
Yep.
And so the question is, and I'm just using this as a broad example, if I worked 3 days a week and those hours were 16 hours of just grind it up, and then the rest of the time I was a dad or I was president or whatever, like I'm okay. Like, and I think we've where I think we run into, and you bring up the whole, like, this is what society teach you. It's the labels that we own. We met this girl in town who's amazing, crazy story, like craziest story of my life. My entire goal of my life is to make this woman come work for me because she is a fighter. She's crazy. She's 21 years old. She's a baller. The craziest fucking childhood ever. I have no idea how she's alive. And she goes, well, you know, I have a personality disorder. And I said, fuck you, you don't. Nope. No, you don't. And she goes, just like that? And I said, yeah, just like that. I said, that's what everybody wants to tell you.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
But if I reprogram your subconscious and your mindset and get you around better people, let's see if you actually have a personality disorder.
Yeah, there's something about putting ourselves into corners and like comfortably sticking ourselves there and sitting there. That's
that. Well, my client just said before this book called The Comfort Crisis. Everything's just too easy.
Yeah.
Right. You know, the AC's working. We got walls. You know, we don't really want to push, because the question is that your push, right? Your drive in life can come from personal.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to come from intrinsic from your job.
Right.
And my number one issue with my clients, the number one thing I work on, is to try to remove the identity of who they are as a person and their happiness dedicated on their job.
Yeah. Yes.
Their job is just an avenue of who you sell beauty counter and your mindset coach, but really you're just Annie.
Yeah. Yes.
It's part of who I do because it fills me up. If it doesn't fill me up, then I'm not going to do it.
Absolutely.
Now, mentally,
the idea of golden handcuffs. People assume that their lives are stuck exactly where they are. And I think there's a lot of people who will intentionally allow themselves to be stuck because it's easier than doing the work to get out. But it's the idea, it's like a slingshot. It's going to take a lot of time to pull yourself back or to pull yourself out of that situation. And that's where the muscle comes in, and that's where it gets hard. But then you get to let go and enjoy life.
You know, you're starting coaching again, and you've coached before your second baby. You know, I'm intrigued by women, right? And I don't have a lot of women clients. I do from time to time, but I don't have a ton. You have more insight than I do. Is it really that identity piece with them of like what they're attaching themselves to, like the mom or the dad, or like I'm a spouse, or like I'm a job? Like, where is like kind of the disconnect for them? And it like, is it what they've told themselves, or is it societal pressures that are like being shoved down on them?
That's a really good question. So as it happens, every single time I have like a 3-month container session, if I'm working with, 6 different women and 3 are mothers, 3 aren't, or if I have a small group and whatever it may be, for some reason, God, the universe, whoever you believe in, it always happens that there is like a one revolving topic between like across the board, and they're not working together. It's so weird how that happens, right? So last spring, it was mainly about like confidence and wanting to feel better. But this fall, it's been about trusting their own intuition, trusting. And what I feel like that's coming from is what I've determined is that a lot of that mistrust has come from their past, from their childhood, from, a teacher that said something that, hit them the wrong way, that didn't like process correctly, that, a father figure that maybe told them they weren't enough and it stuck with them, or whatever. There's all different women that I work with, but all of it comes down to this mistrust of their own intuition and their own decision-making abilities to like function on a daily basis. And so what I've also noticed is that there is a massive disservice or like jab in the side that social media and the internet is bringing, that's making that mistrust just fester, that like it's growing like algae, because a lot of these women don't know how to quiet the noise of social media or turn down the volume of social media. So they genuinely believe, if they're not, doing, if their playrooms aren't perfectly, organized in their home, as they don't have wooden blocks and wooden toys, and they're not using gentle parenting properly, or if they're not thriving in their business, or if they're not, losing weight at a perfect rate and eating right and making all these recipes, that they're doing something wrong. And so it's like their thoughts aren't even their own anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I can't recommend this to everybody, but I'm going to recommend it to everybody. I'm a person that runs a business, a life on social media. I took the entire month of July off of social media. I deleted the apps from my phone. I gave a heads up that I was going to be leaving. And then I took 30 days, no social media. And in the strangest way, it felt like the most molasses, slow-filled, sweet time of my life, because I remembered what my own thoughts sounded like. I remembered what it meant to truly only care about what happens inside my home. Like you just said about the relationship with your dad, that's actually all that matters. Our families, whatever family it looks like to you, it doesn't have to be actual family blood related, but like the people around you, the conversations that you have with them, not feeling like you're rushed through a conversation, not feeling like you're shooing somebody out of your house, and actually creating space to just be. There's this, I don't know, it's like a story about this little Buddha and this man who works in the city. And the guy is telling the Buddha, hey, they're walking, let's say they're walking through Central Park in New York. And the guy's like, no, we got to go this way. Let's go this way. This is the quickest way. It's going to save us 10 minutes to get back to the office. And the Buddha's like, great. So as they're leaving, right before they get back to the office, the Buddha sits down on a bench. And the guy's like, we're going to the office. What are you doing? He's like, I'm enjoying the 10 minutes that we just saved.
That's so funny.
I mean,
that's so great.
But no, those pockets of time, that's it. That's all that matters. But social media is a way not only to fill our space, but to fill our minds, to fill our thoughts. So all of a sudden we're thinking about something and we're being influenced, for lack of a better term, it's true. We're being influenced to think that we need this thing, need to buy this thing, need to go to this place, need to sell this thing, need to make this deal in order to be successful, happy, well-rounded, any of it.
Well, it's interesting. One of my buddies said, you're living, how often are we living other people's injected values?
100%.
Right? And so what's interesting, right, as we tip our toe in the service-based business, and these HVAC guys and these electricians and plumbers, like they're fighting for that like $1 or $2 more an hour, right? That's going to like change their life, right? And so it's really putting a lot of perspective to my life, and saying like, if I were to like deconstruct my life and like put it down on a map and like really like take a week to look at it, I'm like, these things that I really wanted a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, when I was, overweight, like I wrote to somebody the other day, the biggest former drug addict, former alcoholic, homeless, overweight, bad marriage, like toxic, like that's how he introduced me like, on a podcast. And he's like, well, where do we go from there? And I'm like, when you say it that way, it sounds like, man, I'm really playing with house money here, but yet I'm still getting myself down, saying, like my dad cracks me up. Like I went through like everything I was doing, and he was like, he's like, I need a water and a walk. He's like, I don't understand how you're doing all this, and still I don't feel like I'm doing enough. Like my schedule right now is decently light until we take over this company. And I was really like, the first couple of weeks, I was like forcing it. I was like, Jesus Christ, like this is ridiculous. And then somebody said to me, or could you be, recharging for when it is crazy, right? You do travel all the time. You just got done from an 8-month road trip. But what's crazy is this last week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for the first time in 4 years, I didn't put an alarm clock on. And I slept till 6:15, 6:20, and then 6:58. Like, I know everybody's like, you're
everybody's like, what? Yeah, but for Austin, this is like,
for me, like, I thought my phone was broken. And you know what? And guess what? On Saturday, I worked 12 hours because I needed to get something done. She was not here. I feel like a new person.
And that's
I don't even understand the freedom to just let yourself. And I still did my workouts and I still did all my stuff. But that grace, like, I have a good friend and I'm not there yet. So please he's a savage on savages. He did this thing where, like, he was having trouble with his body and he would stand in front of the mirror for 3 minutes a day and say, like, oh, you look amazing. Yeah. You look great. Yes. Like he's like, and he had like this cut on one side, right? Like this cut from when he was a kid. And it was like bulging out. And I swear to God, guys, this is not made up. After doing this for 30 days, the cut started healing.
I believe that. I believe that. I tell you what, I have been like a junkie on listening to brain development and the way the mind body connects lately. So I'll tell you this, because this is kind of funny. And I think you'll be surprised by this. So this fall, I was relaunching my coaching, and I intentionally like lowered the amount of one-on-one coaching slots that I wanted to fill, because I'm a mother of two now. My schedule is different. I knew Todd was entering a new position within his company. It was going to be more demanding. So there was going to be less time here. And so I knew that I didn't want to fill the way that I filled last spring, and I didn't have the capacity to do it. So the interesting thing is I didn't even fill that. And there's part of me that, like, people, like what you just admitted about losing $1 million, right? Like in the last couple of months, and like me telling you that I have not fulfilled all my coaching slots. People don't talk about this shit because people don't talk about their failures. If you want, I'm using air quotes if you're listening to this, because people think that like puts them down. But I'm talking about this in a really positive way, because what that's done for me and the space that's allowed for me is not only am I now able to give more to the clients that I do have, but I've then transferred, like, hold on, pause. Old Annie would have grinded it out, lowered my pricing, figured out a way to fill those slots, because there was something about setting that goal and not hitting it that would have eaten me alive. I would have lowered my pricing. I would have bent over backwards. I would have made night slots for people. And I told myself I was not going to work with people at night. And I would have stepped over my own boundaries. But what that's done is that's given me the space and the emotional capacity to pour into myself in a different way. And so by the time the people are, you'll love to hear this, by the time people are listening to this coming Sunday, I'm running my first half marathon. I've never run a race before. And I've been able to give myself the capacity to train for a half marathon, go for these long runs, pushing a stroller, mind you. But it's given me that space where, like, I have been listening to some of the greatest books that I could put on my list lately. And I'm like, I get excited about going for a run, going for my long runs, so that I can listen to my books, because I know that it's not only strengthening me, it's strengthening my clients now, it's strengthening my future clients. So oftentimes when life, like, gives you something that doesn't look like what you thought you needed or wanted or deserved, it's for a reason. And sometimes that space, rather than trying to fill it, again, when we're alone in our thoughts, rather than trying to fill it with social media, rather than trying to fill it with TV, fill it with nothing. Like you will be surprised by how much your life can expand when you actually get still and think your own thoughts, or do your own things and get quiet. And I don't know, just.
I have a good friend that I interviewed last week. I went on his podcast, he went on mine. And at the end of the interview, he asked me, he said, what's something lately that you've been doing that's making you extremely happy? And I said, choosing me.
That's money. Yes.
And it's weird, right? That here's where I've got my coaching business. And this is not an ego thing. This is a pure thing. In the beginning of my coaching business and the beginning of this journey of the podcast and everything, I was so worried about I am going to be the reason why you get the results, and I'm going to drive you. I'm going to go. And here's my new rule. I'm available. I'm available to teach you, hold space for you, talk to you, but I don't control your fucking results.
Yes.
And I'm not going to feel guilty that you don't want to do the work.
This is good. I've gone through this shift too.
That's tricky because that's not my personality. Yeah. But I get it. And there's so much happiness in that too. I'm just saying, I've had this because I'm realizing that moments of drought in your business is the universe asking you how bad you want it.
Right. Totally.
Are you gonna allow, Ed Milet says, outlast your temporary.
Yep. Yes. That's so true. And I've had so many moments of like, aha moment, but this is everybody in life, right? Just not everybody's maybe willing to admit it like we are, but like you go through these aha moments of life of if you allow yourself to recognize it, to look back at the past and say, oh, I was wrong. And that's okay. I was younger then, and that's okay. I made dumb choices then, and that's okay. But if you just look back and you're like, I was dumb, I was younger, I was this, I was a failure, and not learn from it and go forward, then it doesn't serve you. But if you can do that and look forward, like there's so many situations. I think the realization that I had when I went from my past online business space in the fitness world to where I am now is that I think in the past, I lived from more of a place of like, look at how much I can do. What's wrong? And I hate, this is ironic because we both have the t-shirt. Nobody cares, work harder.
Well, understand that energy was needed for where we were at the moment.
And but in the same breath, it's almost like this, okay, yes, still nobody cares, work harder internally. But that was like a message that maybe we put out into the world, like no, with a pointed finger, nobody cares, work harder to them. No, it's internal. That's it. You're right. That is an energy that I want to bring. Nobody cares, work harder. I am going to work harder. I am. And like coming full circle back to the beginning of this call, there has to be a grind. There has to be a push in some way, but it has to feel good.
Well, what's interesting, right? And this is a very delicate, nuanced conversation that it might go over some people's heads. I'll be 40 in December, so at the time of this recording, I'll be 40. It's October 24th, so 2 months, a month, whatever. I feel like I'm 29. I think Cassie has a lot to do with that, but in my 20s, I wanted the credit. And I wanted the sex. I wanted the sizzle. I wanted the acknowledgement. And here's what I realized. If I want to create wealth, and I'm not talking about my wealth, I'm talking about wealth, massive amounts of wealth, impacting. By the way, just so we're clear, and we'll cover this next because I want to share this with you. If I want to create real wealth and create impact at the scale that I want to, I'm talking thousands and millions of people.
Yeah. Legacy.
No. I have to disappear. And I don't mean disappear. My ego has to disappear.
Oh, yes. This
is a wealth creation mode that's going to take 6 humans. They're all on my team. They've been cultivated. I brought them in. They've all lived a life. We've all had a career. And now this is the legacy part of all of our careers. We all have our own specialties. And it's not about us at all. I'm reading a book right now that is changing my fucking life. And it's called Good to Great. Jim Collins.
Yeah.
I've never read it. And they did a study. And the comparison company and the companies that made it and were called the great companies. And the great companies, they came from the internal. They had no ego. They weren't flashy. They weren't celebrities. They were just good people that had good, but don't fuck with them because they're competent. They're quiet. So I realized I have to be more stoic. I can't, like, this buying businesses is wild. Like it's the most. I was sitting in a house in Pennsylvania, in Franklin, Pennsylvania, with the owner of this company that we're buying, and this man, in an hour, changed my entire fucking life. And I realized the person I want to be. He spent 40 years in the HVAC space, and he talks about how he's taking half the money that he's getting for buying the company and giving it to the employees that have been with him for 10 years. He's bought them houses. He's got guys that were ex-prisoners that he's like bought them a house. And I'm thinking to myself, like, we left the meeting, me and my mentor, and we go, okay, all right, we're right where we need to be. I have found my unicorn, to hit up your other word, the complexity of buying a business and taking on 18 personalities and scaling it up and finding out what everybody needs. I'd never been more alive in my entire life. No offense to real estate. I'll still do it. I understand the vehicle, but I was thinking too small. Because if I truly want to create what I want to create, is like, we have to go out to the jobs. We have to go to the high schools. It's just an overall thing. And while I was in Pittsburgh, I went, Sean Casey, who's the next baseball player, is her boyfriend. And he has a charity that he created where Down syndrome kids play baseball. And I went to their home run derby, and there was 250 people out there with kids laughing. There was music. And I thought to myself, this is America. Yes. Like, this is fucking America, and the shit they're propagating on social media or whatever, like, that's not real.
This is what is happening. This stuff is happening.
But here's a great tagline though. And God bless my my other co-host on Brain Dump. He said the problem is there's so much good happening that it's not news anymore.
You think so?
And he said that we don't wake up and go, man, the sun's shining, I got some air in my lungs, I'm great, because that's too easy. And so what I'm saying is that if you truly want to create legacy and wealth, it can't be about you.
Yeah. Yes.
And that part of you has to die. And what's slowly been, I find, to get sober, to get divorced, to change my life, to travel, to get fucked over, it took so much aggression and toxic energy. But what's crazy is there's a lot of guys, and I'm just talking about masterminds I've been in, that are like wildly successful. Like, I'm talking doing 5 million a year, right? And they're like, pardon where this is about to go. Sorry, mom. They're like, fuck these people. Fuck this shit. Nobody cares. Work harder. I'm going to fucking eat metal and chew on fucking shit. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that energy, that ain't going to last. That's weak. That's toxic energy. That fuel does not, you have to refill it. And so in order to do what you and I are doing, you have to refill it with longevity fuel. And that has to come from deep inside here. Deep.
Well, and the thing, I mean, at the end of the day, it's funny that you say, like, wildly successful, but again,
on their terms,
and maybe monetary. Society. I don't know. I mean, I remember, I actually don't remember where I heard this, but something that I heard is like, there are all these, quote unquote, wildly successful individuals, but where are the 7-figure dads?
Dude, I told Cassie yesterday on a walk, I would give and I mean this wholeheartedly, so everybody just quote me, clip it. I'll give my right arm that in 5 to 10 years, she's changing women's life, and I get to do nothing but just be a dad. I would give up everything to just be the dad that's taking the kids to school, and
it's so fulfilling.
I don't care, dude. I interviewed my mentor, one of my mentors yesterday, and he has 12 companies. True story. 12 companies. He has 5 kids. He doesn't own a laptop. He works from 9 to 1 every day. He said, I will literally close all my businesses if I miss one event that my kids are doing. One event. Now, granted, he has great people around him, but he said, I've retired 3 times and I can't do it. He goes, I've sat on the ranch with 1,000 acres and gone, I should be happy. But he loves the work and the impact, but he refuses to put that against his boundaries when it's his kid. He goes, a burning meteor would have to be blowing down my door for me to even, he's like, I'll probably lose 250 grand this month. because the real estate market shift. But he goes, who cares? He goes, I got healthy kids. They're happy.
Yep.
And he's like, I refuse to be known by the money guy anymore.
Yeah.
I want to be known by the dad that shows up for his kids.
That's right. There's a friend of mine's in the small business space too. And she always says, I want to create, her name's Jordan. I have to give her credit for this because she says, I want to create a business and a life for my family and my people, not at the expense of them. And I think that's so important to get really clear on. It's okay to want to be a business person. It's okay to want to be a business owner and to run a big company and to do all these. It's okay to do all of those things. But getting clear on what it is that brings you joy, if that is your family, if that is your horses, if that is whatever it, painting.
Here's a perfect analogy. I have a client. He's his first year away from his job. He was doing this on the side, but his first year away from his W-2. He's probably going to net 250 this year with his wholesale and his flips and apartments and all that stuff. And when I first met him, we actually just had our last session. We coached together for almost over a year. So it's been a long time together. And he's like, I wish you would have shot a video of me in the beginning and who I am now. But I said, we're sitting here and we're talking about scale. I said, what would it look like if you had this year 10 years in a row? And he goes, well, I would probably be making 300 grand a month in net profits just from my rentals. I wouldn't have to work. And he's a little bit older. And I said, okay. Is that good? Well, yeah, it's amazing. And so now we went into this last call and he goes, well, I don't really need to change my goals. I just need to do this again. But that's not what we teach.
Right.
What's enough? And I'm not, my enough is not a number. My enough is people. So for my goals and dreams are what? But we're saying, I can't leave this job because I need all this. When you don't even know what this is defined as.
And again, society and life likes to tell you what this should look like. But what does it feel? Yeah. What does it feel like for you? Is it the cars? Is it the cars? Is it the houses? Is it the jewelry? Or is it a movie night on your couch on a Friday?
I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think this is just I'm calling it 10 years. I think we're gravitating more towards people waking up to the fact that maybe you start a business and maybe it does 80 grand or 90 grand a year and you work 3 days a week and that's okay. And so if that's the case, let those people do what they want to do. I'll just use an example, and I apologize to anybody I'm offending but I don't really care. I've never met an e-commerce guy that I enjoy. I've never met an e-commerce guy that I enjoy. It's the sex, it's the sizzle, it's the money, it's the cars, it's everything. It's the sleazy a little bit. They're out there. Don't get me wrong. They're out there. But I've heard way too many stories about friends of mine getting fleeced in this market space. And so here's the problem. Is it on the guy for scamming them, or is it on them for believing it was a get with quick money scheme?
That's true. Yeah, people are always looking for shortcuts, right? I actually swear to God, swear on Charlie's life. She's in the other room sleeping. Last night, Todd and I had this conversation, laying in bed, talking about, he's getting ready to go he's away for the week. And, we kind of we always have a Sunday recap of our former week and our week ahead. And one of the things that we talked about last night was cooking. And this is going to sound really dumb and really simple, right? But we went to my parents' house yesterday and my dad wanted to make ribs and he wanted to make potatoes, which okay, why is that such a big deal? Because ribs take 5 or 6 hours if you do them right. And potatoes, if they're done right, start to end process is and we like them crispy. So it's a 2.5 hour process to make potatoes right when you're putting them in the oven. And I feel even just inside of my home, I've gotten to the minute rice and the sauteing, already cooked sausage and doing this in like bagged salad. And while that's maybe more realistic because we've got 2 kids and blah, 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 and busy lives, there's something so magical about spending time cooking. And my dad does a really good job of this. Of course, he's, semi-retired and he's all of these things. And like, he has the luxury of time to, but also no, because it's not like you didn't have to like do much with cooking. It's just
we've gotten away from art in society.
Completely. Like making pasta.
Like, you know what we do now too? And I'm guilty of it too. We don't use proper words or like sentences because like we've lost the art of like language, like having a fucking conversation with people. I'm just as bad with it.
Yeah.
Zoom is like, you get me in front of a person in person right now and I'm like, I don't know how to act.
No, come on.
Life.
No, don't say that. That's terrible. Cause
I'm coming back to
value that.
I'm coming back to
I value that so much. It's not even funny. And because of that, because I'm watching kids and young adults.
I want nothing more in this world. I'm telling you right now, and I'll use your kid as a prop. We'll use him, JP, as a prop. I would love to go to Houston and play 9 holes with JP. Like that would be like the greatest day of my life, right? But like that's something that I totally would take in. And like, when's the last time that somebody did something like that? Like, I'm really like, Patsy's like, you're really good with kids. And I'm like, yeah, because like, I think I'm trying to like tap, because like, I catch myself being like super serious, like a lot of the times. And so that's what I'm trying to like protect against, right? Is that like, there's a lot at stake, but doesn't mean that you have to stop like, like being who you are, right? And so like I think that people need to tap into like one of my buddy's values, like one of his values is 10 of them is play. Like so, and what he does is he takes a value, and every month there's a new value and he taps into that every month. And so like he's doing and he's like, play could be anything to you. It could be like whatever, like I mean, whatever that is to you, right? Yeah, exactly. And so like just knowing that and then having that and then creating the space where you can cultivate it. Right. Because it's not something that you can just turn on. Like you have to like kind of work at it, and whether it's a minute or an hour or 3 hours or a whole day. Those are the aspects that I know that I'm trying to get to. And so to have this big goal but not lose yourself in the moment, I think is the ultimate prize when it comes to
it totally is. There's something, and kids teach us a lot, and hopefully you'll find this out one day. Kids teach us a lot is that, our best days in the Grassi home, our best days are the ones where we're not rushing to finish a meal, where we're not rushing to get out of the house, where, JP is given the amount of time and space and attention from us so that we're not either on our phones or doing something or trying to get, we're busy and it's like when we sit down and do a puzzle with him, it's unreal. The conversations that we have, he's 2.5, right? He's 2.5. The conversations that we have, the amount of joy that we're able to pull from that, and it's always when we're rushed or when we're doing, it's like everything that I have done in my life over the last, 6 months to a year, maybe longer, and things that this is what I've ultimately based my coaching around is I'm trying to help people stretch their lives to find joy in every single bit, and knowing that there is not joy in every single bit, but it's like the idea that there's gold coins through the rainbow, not just at the end. And the only way that you get the rainbow is through a storm, right? It's about weathering the storm. It's not about just avoiding the idea that there are storms, but how do you stretch moments in your life so that you can enjoy them more, so that you can be more fully alive, that you can be more present, that you can be more intentional and be more joyful, even if that is in your work. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but there are some, God bless the people, in our situation, we love what we do, right? And how do you spend more time? Like I am enjoying this time with you.
Yeah. my dad and Cassie both said, like, hey, dude, give your shit up. Like, you'll be a coach the rest of your life. Like, you can't help it.
It's true.
And even if it's not in a formal setting, like, I love it. Right. And so to know that it's totally something that I can lean my hat on. So if people want to find out more about you, they want to follow your journey, how would they do that?
Find me on Instagram. That's where it's funny. I have a private account, so you have to request to follow, which feels very strange to people, but it's just, I protect my space and I protect my boundaries of my 2 children and of my space. I love meeting new people. So if you request to follow me, I would be more than happy to accept that request. That's where I spend majority of my time, is on Instagram. Or come grab a coffee with me in Houston sometime.
I love it.
Yeah.
Guys, if you got some value from this episode, send it to a friend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.